I can see an innate desire, sword in hand, warriors side by side. I can feel it, it burns like fire. Worlds collide, an unstable landscape, side by side. But that's what this man takes. Be it might and unlikely allegiance, we will fight because that's the best defense. No turning back, for such is our path. It's clear as we ride against a dark empire. By my soul, may the last thing they hear be the roar of this raging fire. Disobey the savagery mindset. Not today, we'll let loose and find it. Brutal will define our reaction. Rip out the throat of each one in defection. No turning back, for such is our path. This day we find the
Hooding Services has a bundle for all budgets. You can be fully protected with emergency response for just $49.99.
And we are live, guys. It is Braxcast live once again. Man, I really fumbled saying that, but I kind of maybe I saved myself. Anyways, really nice to see you guys. Of course, we got Garfield in the chat, Student of God, and Ram. Love to see the regulars. Hopefully, you guys had a good week. Hopefully, you guys are going to have a good weekend as well. Certainly, I had a nice week. This week was like, I don't know, probably one of my first like normal weeks. Like things are starting to cool down for me, which is nice. But yeah, it's still been a roller coaster. It's going to be a roller coaster. Got to buckle up because it's only going to get crazier from here, man. If like things go the way that I think they're going to go, my life's only going to get more crazier. The more time I'm on my own, I can do stuff, but it's fun. It is fun. But regardless, there's fun stuff happening in the Rippafest. I'm sure you guys don't want to hear me rant about my personal life in a very vague way or talk about the Roman Empire. Garfield's going to try and get me off track, but we are talking about the Rippafest, as Ram very kindly stated to us. So there is a 45-day community event, and it's going to be focused with art. So you can, do cover pinup art, sequential art, or coloring. And then there's some pages done by Kane White that you can color. Of course, for the talent hacks like myself, there's content creation, which I'm basically in default because I do the live streams every week. I'll make 7 videos during this time, like 7 recorded episodes of Braxcast. Not enough to get me to that, like 10 original videos made during the 45-day window. So we'll see how if I do like probably do like a video essay because I got one that I want to do basically, and I think I could do like a 10+ minute video on that pretty easily. And of course the streaming, I'll be doing the streaming, so I'll probably guaranteed be in this one. I'll make one for this just because, and I'm not sure, I guess if Andrew's watching this, if I make like if I keep on my regular Braxcast schedule, I'll making like 7 videos. So maybe it's like the totality of all the content that I make, I'll be considered for this. But regardless, this is a really cool thing to do. There are prizes. So let's see. In the final week, the community takes the spotlight. Fans will vote in the official Rippafest Discord to choose the community choice creator of the season. So that's a cool thing. I love having the community engage with that. Well, I don't know. People kind of know me. I'm not sure if people would vote for me. Garfield, would you guys vote for me as the Rippafest creator of the season? Because there is American Texan I know who's going to catch this on the VOD because he's busy during my live streaming schedule. There's Weapon X. There's like Thinkening. There's a bunch of other guys that make Rippafest content, not just me, and they might be more popular or more beloved by the fans than I ever could hope to be, which is okay. Which is okay. I don't mind. But anyways, that is like the cover biggest thing with the Rippafest. I did download the Rippafest creator kit, guys, just before, or at least I got the email to me. So let's see. We got Zayd Comics in the chat. Really nice to see Zayd Comics as always. Of course, next month, the Man with No Strings, number 0, is getting fulfilled. I'm way behind on my comic reviews. I'm starting to catch up. So after this stream, I will be uploading a review. I kind of phoned it in, but once you see the title, you guys will know why I phoned it in. Also, because I got like 6 more reviews to do. And I have to catch up from September. I'd say some people are a little sad that no formal writing competition was included, but wouldn't scripting a long form video be considered kind of like writing? In a way, but it's different because I'll tell you this: I have never written a script for any one of my videos. I never have. So every review you guys have watched of mine, I'd say I know you guys watch my reviews, at least some of you guys. So any review of you've watched of mine, every episode of the Braxcast, I've never scripted them. I go off the cuff. I have like when I do the reviews, I write my review first, so I know what I'm talking about. But then I basically just like freestyle it. Like I turn on the camera and then I just flip through the book and I give my thoughts on it. And that's been my review style. It works decently well for me. Be nice, better to like script things out. There have been a couple of times where like on a post-it note, like I've written like things I want to talk about. It's probably a habit I ought to get into more. But if you're going to like script something, it's a different style of writing than if you're going to, let's say, write a 16-page comic book script, which is what, if you're a writer and you want to write creatively, that's where your mindset's more going to be than like writing a video, writing a script for a 10-minute video essay. It's a different beast, or it's a different like way of writing things. So that's really it. Let's see. So yeah, but that's I think Garfield sent that message twice. Okay. So let's see. Are you guys going to enter into the Rippafest, or are you guys so busy with your own projects? So yeah, we'll see as A Comics does. Like I said, I entered in as on the creator side, content creator side, I ought to say. So we'll see if I get anything out of it. It would be cool because there's some cash prizes, and God knows I could use the money. But anyways, I'm just happy to be here, guys. So regardless, I am just going to have fun. But anyways, this is the Creator Season 2025 official creator kit, which I think is pretty cool. And this is just featuring most of this. I was going through this, and this seems to be, this is 288 pages. So there's a lot of stuff. So of course, I wouldn't print all this out, but this seems to feature a lot of pinup art. And of course, you got some interior artwork as well. I'm scrolling through this like really, really quickly. But a lot of this are just pages from art. So let's see. Good luck, Joker. Would you take the cash prize or double store credit? Yeah, no, it's a hard thing for me. Cash would be nice. The store credit would be nice as well because I just buy so much stuff from the Rippaverse, which it also like in the long term will like save me money as well. Let's see. So I'm conflicted. That's like, if I win, then I'll come to that bridge when I cross to it. I don't want to like speculate and get imaginative, because God knows I'm so imaginative. And it's one of the things that I really don't like being. It's just like constantly thinking like, and again, I can't stop myself with some things. It's like, oh man, if this works out, then my life will be like this, and this scenario is just playing over and over again in my head. I don't want to get like that with something else. So I'll cross that bridge when I come to it, Garfield. If I would take the store, a decent chance I would take the store credit, because like I said, I just spend so much on Rippaverse stuff, and I think it's like $1,000 of the store credit that I probably would be able to be like, hey, I could get a one at all of like whatever I like and just justify it to myself. It'd be pretty dope. Let's see. So the Rippaverse is a normal self-funding company now. They don't crowdfund. They offer many products and titles. They expose creators abusing crowdfunding. Well done so far. That's from PV. Yeah, that's the thing with the Rippaverse. So they just made comic books, and they get them out to people in a timely manner, and it's possible to do that. Eric July really proved that. Of course, for some people, if you're like really small and you're in that like 4-figure range, then crowdfunding makes sense. You're doing it more so as like, a hobby, a side hustle, and people are going to give you more grace with that. But a lot of these people, they really aren't in that situation. And I've talked about that ad nauseum. And you're aware of the actors, and of course, like Indiegogo's kind of screwing them over. So they're doing what Eric July did, making their own sites, and I'm supportive of it, but they should have been doing this like, I don't know, 3 years ago or so, around the time Eric was doing it. But anyways, got 32 flavors of Nick Weiser, who's listening from his car and ordered his Isom short box. I think I have, I actually have, I have an Isom short box. I have 3 Rippaverse short boxes. I think one of them is Isom, the other 2 is like the Rippaverse short box. And I need another. I think I'll need more, because I'm like running out of. Saints and Sinners really did me over, so I actually have to give some of these comics away, man. So like I said, I'm going to do a big giveaway once I get the Isom action figure in, because that'll come with an extra. I ordered an extra of the mystery Dokemon card, whatever that's going to be. So I'll give that away as like the grand prize, and then I'll give away like a bunch of comics like associated with it. To like 3 people, and I might do like, hey, you can pick like whatever free books you like, from like this stack, and it'll go like first person gets a pick of anything, and then second gets after that, and then third gets scraps. But I got a bunch, so I'll just pick the ones that I have extras of, and I'll give them away, along with like some like top prizes, right? And I might even do like get that. But anyways, I'll figure it out once I have all of it, and then what I'm willing to give away, and then I'll announce that giveaway. But that'll be after the ISOM action figure is fulfilled, so it won't be for a while. But that's something I do really want to do. But anyways, Pump for Norfolka, reread Yair Free, and going to reread Blood Roof #1. I'm not like much of a rereader of comics. I really ought to. I did like skim through ISOM 1 and 2 before doing the ill-advised review. But yeah, man, this Blood Roof #1 and Yair Free are really good. So yeah, definitely probably ought to read Alpha Core 1 when Alpha Core 2 is close to fulfillment, just to like refresh my memory, because I'm going to do an overview of that. And also it's a good comic. Let's see. Definitely looking forward to Norfolka as well, and Horseman #2, hopefully soon. Yeah, I think Horseman #2 is going to come out pretty soon. As in, it's going to get fulfilled pretty soon. I can't imagine it being too long. I'm really excited for Alpha Core #2. Of course, we don't have to be like, when Alpha Core 2 is coming out. We know it's going to be fulfilling in the coming months. Really awesome. So read ISOM Free 3 times. Love it. Nick Weiser. Yeah, no, ISOM Free is a really good one. I got that just before moving. So it's like really cool. I think it was like, yeah, it was the last Rippafest book I read and reviewed in New York. So yeah, it's kind of I got to do the ill-advised arc review with the old setup. Of course, if you look at the table behind me, it's the same table I filmed on. My parents brought it over from when I was like in their basement doing this. So it's the same table that I film on. It's just in my own apartment, because I'm a big boy now. I pay my own rent like a big boy. Me big boy. If you guys get that joke. But anyways, like I said, it's the same table. I got a slightly better like filming setup, only a teeny tiny bit better. But like I said, so it made ISOM Free like an event for me. Just getting that so close. So also, did you see the Rippafest video at SpaceCon? That Dirty Deeds and Gooding banner looks insane. Kane White made some more masterpieces. So I didn't see that. I know they are at SpaceCon. We got like, this is like the most like 7 notifications. But anyways, let's go do the full. So let's see. We got let's see here. Actually, we're going to remove that. We're going to while I do this, yeah, ISOM Free is absolutely fantastic. Easily the best of the free. Yeah, it really brings the ill-advised art together, and then it also gives us like, I want to read ISOM #4. So yeah, Eric did a really good job in writing that, and of course Cliff gave us some really good art as well. Of course, he had the input of Kanan on that. So we'll go for, here we go. And we'll see if, there we go. Woo! I'm so professional. I'm the most like professional person you'll ever meet in terms of live streaming. Like, I know exactly what I'm doing. So let's see if we can find the banners, because I'm not sure if this is the exact one you're talking about. But yeah, I haven't, I don't keep too much up with the con scene. Here we go. I think this is this is what you're talking about. This is cool. Let's see. Absolutely epic one. I passed it. So we see the Gooding one. And then let's see. The Dirty Deeds banner. I think we will find it. I see here. Like, that is, the Dirty Deeds one. This is really cool. So I saw like they had the one with ISOM 2 cover D. And of course, we'll go full screen here for a bit. And you guys can see my ISOM 2 statue. Of course, if I move, you can see Yaira behind there, but I'm kind of covering her, or my chair is. Anyways, but yeah, they got good promotional materials for the cons. I definitely would say that, which I think is fantastic. But they haven't really announced anything at the cons um, since the first MegaCon that they did in 24 February of 24 with the Horsemen, and that was actually my first episode of Braxcast. You guys, like, if you go to Braxcast number 1, it was me speculating on the Horsemen. Yeah, definitely would make a good poster. I mean, basically anything Kanan draws makes a good poster, man. I have, you guys can't see it, but I'm pointing. I have his Great War Separation poster. It's one that I wanted to hang in this background here, like these three, because it's cool. It kind of makes it like I have a studio here. But anyways, I do have I believe the Gooding poster. If you guys, you guys can see the Gooding poster. I believe that's Kanan's. It's an absolutely fantastic poster. And I'm not sure if and he did the Isom versus Montano. You see this one behind me, Isom versus Montano. That's Kanan's artwork as well. And then of course he's got like a Zalen poster that's in my kitchen. It looks epic, man. I love it. The Joker cave. So yeah, this is just my office space. So I have a 2-bedroom apartment, and I talked about this before, but this bedroom is my office. So I've got my computer here, I've got my filming setup, I've got a drafting table where I draw, and I also like I write letters to my mom. I read kind of. But anyways, I can use that table as well. I actually kind of like using that table just for straight up writing. If I'm gonna like write a letter or something like that, or just read, because the drafting table's got like a place, with like you can like tilt it up, and it has this like little metal bar. But I use it for drawing, and I want to draw comics, but it's been like such a, like, you got to put hours and hours into it. But it's nice to have the drafting table to do that. And I've got I got a bookshelf with my books on it. But anyways, it's a nice office space. Of course, like, I just sit here and I watch YouTube videos for hours, and then it's like, oh, time to go to sleep, and then I go to sleep. I rarely do anything productive these days. But when I do, it's nice to have the office space to actually do that. And of course, like, I do the podcast, I do Braxcast, and it's really nice because I can film a video and then I just just roll on over, and then I'm right to like getting it uploaded to the computer, editing out, getting it uploaded. So it does streamline the workflow to have this all in like one space. Whereas it used to be that my filming setup was down in my basement, or let's just say my basement, and then I had to go upstairs to my room, and I was living with my parents. So a lot of times it'd be on the weekends, and my dad, or my mom would be conversating with me, and I'd spend like maybe 20-30 minutes talking to them, which is nice. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's just like kind of makes it hard to like be in the super productive mindset. And again, I'm getting back into it. But anyways, man, we are supposed to be talking about the Rippafest. Like I said, not my personal life, even though it seems like what I'm always going to be doing. But yeah, SpaceCon 2025 is something that is going on, which I think is pretty cool. And I know they were talking about that, but it's definitely not like I don't know. I like them doing the con scene, and Andrew, of course, has talked about it being like a really good thing for like getting the word out and everything. But they haven't announced anything like super big at a con, and I really want them to. Because that's what really makes the whole con thing worthwhile. And I'm going to share. Nah, we're gonna share screen. And we're going to do the window. Yes, this window just like that. And then we shall add it to the stage, and we'll go back to the Rippafest Creator Fest, because I think we covered everything we want from the SpaceCon. But anyways, my whole commentary on my whole commentary on the cons is that, like, since MegaCon 2024, we really haven't gotten any big announcements. Which I think is fine. A lot of the announcements get announced just randomly online, which is cool. But it'd be nice to like them announce something at a con and make the con a big event. And also it brings in the fans, like me, who can't come to the cons. Although I really want to go to a con that the Rippaverse is at. I think I'll be decent chance I'll be able to make that happen next year. But we'll see. It just depends on like PTO and can I justify buying the plane tickets and all that jazz. But it's certainly something I can do. So PB, I took a while to get to this comment. Said I'm waiting on Delta Base from Mike Barron. Eric said he's waiting to release it for an unspoken reason. When I asked him, really enjoyed Gooding. Yeah, Gooding was great. So Mike Barron's a fantastic writer. Will Conrad is an absolutely fantastic artist. The way Mike Barron not Mike Barron, actually, the way Mike Barron talked about Delta Base was like really intriguing. But probably decent chance there's other things in the release schedule that are more important to get out than Delta Base. And of course, there's the Rippaville stuff, and not all of that has been released. So Delta Base was talked about at the first Rippaville, but it wasn't talked about as something that would be releasing in 25. So I imagine it's on the 26th release schedule because I'm not sure if it was you. Actually, it was. I think it was you. Yeah, it was you, PB. So PB. They have a really packed release schedule. So the Delta Base probably has to come out in 26 for them to meet all the obligations that they set for themselves of like, here's what we're releasing in 25. That's probably factoring into it. There's probably other reasons as well, where like it would make more sense if like X, Y, and Z book, probably let's say Alpha Core 2 comes out and before Delta Base number 1 comes out. And Alpha Core 2 will be fulfilling in Q1 of 26, if I can remember correctly. So Yaira has been really good so far, getting really hit out of the park too. Yeah, Yaira is my favorite book. So the Saskas are really fantastic writers. But yeah, the Gooding story was really good. I guess pun intended. And I love Mike Barron to do another issue or maybe 2, or I guess another book, I ought to say, of Gooding to get us to that point where he is in ISOM number 2, because he definitely is not where he's at the beginning of ISOM 2, even the beginning of even in Bloodroof number 1, because he makes an appearance in Bloodroof number 1. So Gooding is just this really interesting character. Absolutely love the character of Gooding. So just seeing more of him would be really cool. But I'd love another Gooding book to really flesh out his story and fill in the gaps that we have between the end of the Polymath and the beginning of ISOM 2. And I guess Bloodroof number 1, I would say I'd say Bloodroof number 1, because I would say that takes place, a bit before. Yeah, it takes place before ISOM 2, because here's the thing with Gooding is that Gooding knew who Bloodroof was before he met Bloodroof, and he knew, I think, about her parents as well. That's something I would have to reread if I remember correctly. So Gooding's got the intel, but it's really cool that but Bloodroof was already established at her castle in the events of ISOM number 2. Gooding basically sends ISOM, hey, go meet Bloodroof at this castle, and then he drives to the castle, and then he meets Bloodroof. So Bloodroof number 1 takes place before ISOM number 2. So I'd say between Gooding the Polymath and Bloodroof number 1, there is a big gap of events that is very much so justified in having another Gooding book explain it. And I think there's enough fan demand for that to make it happen. So really hope that Mike Barron has at least an outline for a script, if not one that Eric has and is getting Will Conrad to plug away at. But I can only speculate on that. Let's see. So Solari wearing the shades after getting burned by Billy Bob was hilarious. Alpha Core had serious moments sprinkled with comedy, reminded me of Lethal Weapon. Let's see. I can't remember. Let's see if I can. Let's Google Lethal. If I might remember that. I might be thinking. Yeah, no, I'm not thinking of. A Lethal Weapon came out in 1987. So yeah, it's a bit before my time. But no, I was thinking of a completely different movie. Let's see. Joker, we need a retro cover tier list video pronto. So do you want me to do it as like a video, or just like I guess a video would be better, because then I wouldn't be like ranting and rambling about stuff. Let's see. Let's see. Who has the most appearances in the Rippaverse? Solari seems to appear in the most books. Yeah, I would honestly say it's Solari because Solari appears. Let's see. Solari appears in Isom. Oh yeah, either is fine with Garfield. But yeah, I might honestly might just do that as like a special episode to get myself up to that 10 because I could make that one. I could make another one, and then I would just have to make one more. But we'll see what I do. Let's see. So who has the most appearances? So let's think about this. So Isom Brian Solari appears in Isom number 1, Isom number 2. It doesn't appear in Isom number 3, if I can remember correctly. Of course, Alpha Core number 1, Great War Separation 1 and 2. Doesn't appear in Gooding. Doesn't appear in Bloodroof. He appears in Horseman, Welcome to Forest Park, and number 1. Doesn't appear in Zalen. So yeah, I think it would be Brian Solari because he appears makes all of his appearances are with the Alpha Core. So like Yaira 1, 2, and 3, I believe he's in all of those, and he's in Great War Separation number 1 and 2, and Braxwell and Ingrid aren't. And of course, I mean, you can count Saints and Sinners. If you count Saints and Sinners, Ingrid's in Chasing Ghosts, of course. But I don't think we're really counting that. But yeah, also appears in all the issues of Yaira 1, 2, and 3. So yeah, I would say it would be Brian Solari for sure. He's made the most appearances. Let's see, but yeah, it's Zay Comics is going, so hopefully you guys have a good night. But yeah, I honestly think it would be cool to have a yeah, no, I think doing a retro tier list video would be cool. And then maybe I'm sure because I was thinking like this week was going to be a slow week. But it wasn't because there was something to talk about with Rippafest, which I think is a really cool thing. So that will be what the episode is tomorrow, where I want to take again, this is 288 pages. I'd be insane to print all of this out, and there's no point in doing that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, this art's fantastic. So of course, this is the I believe this is cover D for Bloodroof number 1 without the logo, which is pretty cool. And then, of course, I think this is the A cover. I mean, you've got some really good pinup art here. And then, of course, you got some interior artwork. Of course, love that statue of Mary there. You got that family portrait there. So there's just a lot of really, really good artwork. Of course, Michael Montané is a good one as well. Oh, yeah, also foiled cover list as well. Yeah, I'll do all the tier list covers, man. I'm going to spend hours just going cross-eyed over Rippaverse covers, although I'd love to do that. So ought to be something I ought to do. Probably do the retro covers as a video, and then basically all the other ones as maybe the retro and the foil, and then the A cover as a live stream. Because I could get two of those out and see how that works out for me, because I got to get to that 10. Because I'm be doing 7 episodes of Braxcast as my normal schedule, and then of course I can just say it's a Braxcast special retro cover tier list. That's probably what I would call it. Because the numbered episodes are the ones I do every Saturday. It's just me talking about the current news, or reviewing Rippazines, or doing the Dokumon cards, or going through the concept art books. And that's the format that I like to keep it as. And I have done some tier lists because there have been times where I've needed to film 2 in a week. Oh yeah. Thank you, Garfield. Yeah, 165 subs. Channel's been growing slowly and steadily. One of the things I do obsessively check the YouTube Studio metrics, and I was at 159, and then I dropped up to 162, and now I'm stuck at 165. I feel like if I had gotten out more of the content that I ought to have in terms of the comic reviews, then I'd probably be doing a little bit better. But yeah, it is a slow, steady growth. Of course, the big milestone for me would be to get the 500 subs? I think it's 500 subs and 4,000 watch hours. That's what I would need to monetize the channel. And then I think once I get monetized, it's not like that I'd be raking it in with ad revenue, because, God, no. But it'd be like I could enable super chats, right? And that would actually, you Garfield or Ram or whoever would actually want to pay me money for my insane rambling. You guys wouldn't have to, but I could turn it on, and I have the PayPal link, but doing it for YouTube, people feel more comfortable with that. And of course, it makes me, of course, like this, stream is so small. There's no point in super chatting, because I'll just read your message anyway. But who knows? Maybe like if I keep doing this in a year from now, I'll be I'll actually have more of an audience. It's not that I don't have an audience; I'll have more of an audience. Because I definitely am very appreciative, like you, Garfield, and Ram, and all the people who lurk and watch. So you guys are there, you guys watch. But it's like I don't have like all this interaction, which would be cool. But yeah, no problem at all. I like supporting indie creators and channels. I do appreciate that. And I like that as well. When I was like into watching Twitch, I would always watch like the channels that have like less than 10 viewers, because you actually get to talk to the person. It's parasocial, but it's like cool to be like it makes it feel much more relaxed if there's only like 2 or 3 other people who are actually chatting, because then it feels like this little like niche community you're a part of, rather than like being in like a ninja live stream, the chat's just going crazy and everyone's just talking about random BS. It's cooler like this. It's just like there's this fine line between like it being like a very small and intimate online community versus it being completely dead. Which I'd say I'm pretty lucky, and that hasn't really happened for me. Of course, I think I feel like there's times where it's gotten a bit close for me, but most of the time, like when I live stream, I got, of course, you, Garfield, very engaged. I'll have like Zayd, I'll have like new people come up and like say hi and give their thoughts and commentary and such. Especially, even when I go on and ramble about the Roman Empire or whatever nonsense I feel like talking about. But that's the thing there. I think that's part of what makes live streaming fun. Like I've said so many times before, is that it's not like, oh, I have to have this set script and I'm going to cover this, that, and the third in this very specific order and have these segments. Of course, I feel like if I had like these structured segments, Student of God would clip stuff because he would be able to. But I feel like there is some stuff that I've talked about where, he could clip it if he felt like it. But it doesn't have to. But it'd be nice if Student of God like made at least like 1 or 2 clips of my streams, because I feel like I've gone on some decent rants that are related, like some stuff that's like clip worthy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just puffing myself up. Let's see. I think it's parasocial. The viewers are making demands in exchange for their donations. I think donating to a show in order to support the creator is completely different. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that. To me, I'm saying it's parasocial in the sense that if you're using like this interaction that you're having with a streamer to like replace like a genuine friendship, which a lot of people do. I was certainly doing that like 1920 or so. I'm saying like 2019, 20, like when I was like 21, 22, which, I'm very solidly out of my early 20s, because I'm like I said, 27 now. So I kind of feel like I'm an old man. I'm really not. But like I don't relate to like the really young people anymore. But I'm also like not an old person, so I'm like in this very awkward in between stage, because like I'm in between the Gen Z and the millennials, like basically, which I don't know. It makes me feel a bit weird. And of course, like I've got the big frame, I've got the beard. So I guess I look and I feel like I'm older than I actually am. Um, so anyways, I see what you mean. Yeah, being chronically online and not talking to people RRL can definitely devolve into that. So yeah, that's the point that I'm making in the parasocial aspect. But of course it can be parasocial if like, you're saying I'm throwing money at you, act like act like a clown, or just turning you into like a like a freak show or something like that. But that's not really what I'm talking about. Like I said, it's like you're using the interactions you have with the live streamers to replace social interaction. I think, if you guys watch Financial Audit with Caleb Hammer, One guy was talking about spending like a ridiculous, like a 5-figure amount on donations for Twitch streamers, like doing the sub donos and stuff like this, where like if you're on these big streams, you're just like gifting subs and sending the bits and whatever because it gives you that dopamine hit, and that's also a problematic thing as well. And again, a lot of stuff with the internet really messes with people's minds. And of course, this is just stuff that like isn't the adult side of the internet, which, of course, I've got a lot of experience in, and that messed me up big time, man. I'm still dealing with the ramifications of that. And I was like 14 when I found that crap. And I'm old. I was old compared to a lot of people who, people like 10, 12, even like 7 years old, like getting into that stuff. Like that really messes you up when you're that young, and your nervous system, your brain is like being rewired that harshly. And this is the thing; it's not just with that. It's just with the nature of even like the live streaming. I like video games and stuff like that. But like the way games and the internet was, when I was really young, like there's a difference between playing Mario Kart 64 on a CRT, like I was doing back in like 2001 or so, versus probably 2001, 2002, versus like playing Fortnite on a Nintendo Switch a couple inches from your face. And I like the Switch and I like Nintendo, but again, it's an entirely different way of experiencing media, and it definitely is much more engaging. So it definitely really fries out your reward system, your ability to hold attention, all these sorts of things. So it's concerning. And of course, you put AI into the mix, and it's useful because like talking to ChatGPT is like talking to an encyclopedia. It can be like really useful for learning about a lot of things, but people are using it to just like do the thinking for them. And then of course, with just like the way it is, it's just not like, it's something like I used to use it a lot. Now I haven't used it all that much, but it's still like just like talking to it. It's like probably ought to be talking to a real person, but like if you just talk to it and you just ask it a question, it can give you a very matter of fact answer. Like you can ask it about like, oh, who was the Roman emperor in the year 200? Just tell you, and then it's like, oh, tell me more about that, and it's very natural because it's like humans were meant to like talk to each other, and you're basically talking to like the AI can just like search the internet. It has this massive database to pull from, and then it can just generate these audio responses. So you're getting this oral transmission of accurate quote unquote information, even though AI hallucinates all the time, man, and it's still going to even the best models, and that's something that's going to really prevent it from actually being like the AI apocalypse that everyone's like hyping it up to be. But that's a whole other discussion. Let's see, pretty much Boogie 2988, Error 47. What about error number 1? Can't start the fucking game. Let's see. Don't. Mike has bad knees. Nice to see you in the chat. Don't fall in love. I'm not gonna fall in love with. Well, no, I'm not. I don't have an AI. I don't have an actual girlfriend. Don't have an AI girlfriend as well. I would never do the AI girlfriend nonsense. It's so stupid. It is so dumb. Like they'll have the AI girlfriend, right? But yeah, but this is what guys and this is what girls are doing as well. Basically, what women are doing is they're turning their ChatGPT models into like their smut romance novel fueled perfect boyfriend, and they're dumping all of their like emotional turmoil and needs onto this AI boyfriend. And the thing is I think in December they're going to allow ChatGPT to be X-rated. God help us all, because you're going to have, again, a lot of these dudes are just going to use it to like basically make like their own personal OF girl. That's what a lot of guys are going to be doing. But these women are basically going to have like, think of like Christian Grey from 50 Shades of Grey or whoever. And it's going to basically whatever they want. And it's just going to say like, you can just say, hey, these are my favorite romance fantasy novels, and these are my favorite characters. Just act like that. This is what I like. This is how I want to be held. This is what I would want my man to do for me. And then ChatGPT is just going to respond like that. And you're going to build this completely fictionalized fake version of this person that you're with in your mind. And you're so isolated that, especially, for dudes as well. Um, if you're a dude like me, you've never felt the touch of a woman. You've got basically like no prospect of like a woman even like looking in your direction. So it becomes very easy for AI to go and just like fry out your brain. This is, of course, why everyone ought to get a prayer rope and return to Jesus. Even though I'm like, uh, but yeah, that's a thing, man. Just pray we can get through this because that's really all we can do at this point. Um, Let's see. So Japan and Korea are already making their AI robots for relationships. Yeah, society's cooked in a few decades. Yeah, I 100%, especially like the East State, like Japan and Korea are screwed, man. Especially Korea. I think if Japan has like the whole feminist stick as well. They just elected their first female prime minister, so I'm sure it'll go good for them. But anyways, if Korea, you have, I think it's like the 4B movement, no marriage, no kids, no relationships, or whatever. So there's just this complete divide that's formed between the sexes, this inability for young people. I would say basically anyone who's like my age and younger, and then also slightly older. So anyone who's probably below age 35 has an innate amount of trouble forming relationships because we've gotten rid of third places. We don't have solid, well-knit communities. People really don't go to church anymore. A lot of people are returning to church, but even so, it's still hard to form these connections. Yes, virtual reality is going to make humanity never want to leave their house. So yeah, it's a whole thing of the pod. But yeah, the VR headsets, I have one. I haven't used it since I moved up here. I haven't used it in a while. I kind of want to set it back up again because like playing Beat Saber is fun. Playing VR games is fun. But it's really when you can go into a room and it becomes a virtual world. Where like let's say you put on like a pair of glasses or even a pair of contacts, and then you're basically in Skyrim, right? That's where VR is heading. I'll probably be there in like 20 years or so. Probably like when I'm like around my 50s or so is when that technology will be the way I'm describing it. And then once that happens, like all bets are off, man. We're cooked as a society, and then especially where you've got your Neuralink in your brain and it can read your mind and then feed that into the AI, and then the AI will make it more addicting based on your dopamine levels and serotonin levels, man. Like the amount of stuff they're going to be able to do to keep you wired in, like to make you want to go into the pod and eat the bugs and enjoy every single moment of it, man, is absolutely insane. So like I said, buckle up, man. And for me, this is like I wanna get rid of every bit of technology I have, get a shack in the woods, live off of fish and potatoes, and maybe the occasional deer that wanders by my shack, and just pray that Christ has mercy on me. That's honestly the mindset I'm in right now. Not just for like our impending AI overlords and WEF masters coming to take over everything, but for a variety of other reasons, which I won't get into. But anyways, my doomeristic rant on the end of society aside. Yeah, we're meant to talk about the Rippafest, but like I said, yeah, let's see. We've got yeah, no chats here. But like I said, a music contest would be cool. So you're supposed to submit one original MP3 file. I do play Doug Shea's and Together. I hope he makes something for this because it'd be really cool. Yeah, so let's see. I'm convinced the Beast from Revelations is going to be AI. Yeah, I mean, a decent chance. Like, man, Revelations, of course, it's the last book of the Bible, last book of the New Testament. Definitely wanting you to reread because it's got a lot of symbolic imagery. Of course, it was written by John. It's like the last thing in terms of public revelation. It's also called the Apocalypse of John, so it's very much about the end of the world. It's also like a bit more temporal in the sense that like it's written to like churches of the time. But yeah, like the Beast probably could be AI. It's probably going to be. It's not going to be like any. No, but this is, of course, I'm just a catechumen of orthodoxy, so don't take this seriously. But the beast is probably not going to be like one singular like thing. It's going to be a multitude of things. So you're going to see like the beast in this like amalgamation. Like it's going to be AI, it's going to be Bill Gates, it's going to be Klaus Schwab and his henchmen, basically all like as this amalgamation of what is going to just try and drive humanity into the end. And of course, the ultimate goal of the devil is to get rid of humanity. Because humans were made in the image of God, Genesis 1:26, and the devil hates God. He has chosen to pit himself against God, and therefore, since humans are made in God's image, wants to destroy humanity, which is one of the reasons why all the stuff with adult content with pornography is so prevalent, because it destroys people's abilities to form relationships. It destroys marriages. Therefore, people can't have kids. And if you can't have kids, you're not propagating the image of God. Hot take. But anyways, yeah, Nick Weiser says to enjoy the benefits of AI, but don't become dependent on it. Dependence is the ultimate downfall. I 100% agree. But the issue is, Nick, it's hard to, it's easy to say that to us. Like, I never had ChatGPT to write my college essays, even though like I remember like one essay in college, I didn't even write it. And my professor's like, "Do you have your essay?" It's like, "No, I never wrote it." And I flunked out of my 4-year college in 3 semesters, and I got my associates at the community colleges local to me. So it worked out in the end. But anyways, I didn't have ChatGPT because I graduated from my community college. I got my associate's degree in 2021. So it was a couple years. It was like, let's say 2 years before ChatGPT, the first models started becoming available to people. Even though it was like in the works, like even like I'd say 7-ish years, like 2014 or so is when they started working on these models, but they weren't available to the public in the way that they are now, or at all. It was only, around 2 years ago or so. But like you're a high school student, you're a 15-year-old, and you're going to go through your entire high school career, your college career, using ChatGPT to basically do all your work for you. Like you're dependent on it, man. Because you got into it that young, and that's the thing. So I'm not sure if I'll ever have kids, but if I have kids, I am not. I don't even want them to see me using a smartphone, or I'd have the PC, and I probably would want to keep up with Velvet Room Publishing to the best of my ability. But I wouldn't want to have them like see me using my phone, because I've seen these stories of parents that they're on their phones around their kids. They put the iPad in their kids' hands, and it's just ruining them. It's not setting them up for a good future. It just makes people like screen zombies. So Nick Weiser said, I read Austin 316 today, and suddenly I want to whoop some ass. I'm not sure about Austin 316. But yes, well, at work, I had to break down a crate with a sledgehammer. And that felt really satisfying. Most of it I was hitting it from the surface one, where I could actually smash it down. Like that felt good. And I got frames, so like I was whacking it pretty hard. It's like, don't do that to me. Oh man, but that was fun. But yeah, like I said, like a shack in the woods would be nice, because then I could just chop trees all day. Just chop logs all day would be fun. I'd have to keep keep enough firewood to keep me warm. Are you entering Rippafest? Mike has bad knees. I already have. So technically, this is my first entry into Rippafest. This is, of course, October 24th. This is running from the 22nd of October to the 6th of December, which ends on a Saturday, which is a Saturday. So I will be, I gave them, it's not like any one singular thing. So my YouTube channel, my Twitter X page, whatever the freak you want to call it, and then my link tree. So they have all my social media, and they'll just follow up on there, all the content that I post. So yeah, I have entered. I was like, why not? I make Rippafest content anyways. So like I'm basically de facto in this already. I just had to formally enter it, which I did. This is basically my first little foray into my Rippafest content, because this is a live stream, and one of the things for content creation, as you can see, is the commentator / streaming, cover Rippafest topics in your own style, which I certainly am doing, even though I'm not talking about Rippaverse topics as much as I ought to be doing. But we still talk about them occasionally. Talk about let's talking about Gooding. Let's talking about Brian Solari's appearances, or all the appearances that Brian Solari was making. So we do talk about Rippaverse, and of course, really excited for Alpha Core 2. That's going to be a good one to get. But yeah, of course, like with ISOM 4 and getting to see more Shadron, because we haven't seen Shadron in like an actual meaningful non-flashback appearance. Definitely need to see that. So let's see. Is Ginger Wolverine entering in? His comic book short videos are growing in views. That's something you would have to ask him, Garfield. I don't talk to him really at all in the DMs. Nice guy though. I'll say stuff about the LDS. But he's a nice guy, so I'm not gonna poo-poo him or badmouth him or anything like that. In fact, I think he's nice to me. He came on my stream, so then it was very nice to me. Definitely ought to watch more of his videos because I hear they're pretty good. So he definitely ought to enter and make the content that he would make anyway. And I would say God bless the man. Hopefully he gets the cash prize because I think he would deserve it. But anyways, so yes, to answer your question, Mike has bad knees. I am entering the Rippafest, and then of course Garfield. You'd have to harangue. You would have to harangue Ginger Wolf about that. If or Ginger Wolverine, I ought to say, if he's entering the Rippafest, because I don't know. And I don't know if Nick Weiser. I think I don't know. Nick Weiser could. But a lot of his content's more like general comic stuff and not necessarily Rippleverse related. Although I think Nick Weiser could probably make like, a video essay or something like that. And I think he'd do a decently good job at that. But anyways, we got like, like almost like over 200, almost 300 people watching on. I don't know where you people on Twitter find me, and I don't know why, but I do absolutely love that. Yeah, so that is the fun thing there. But anyways, man, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know even what I was talking about, but it just is what it is. But yes, but the biggest thing is, the final week is that fans are going to vote for the community creator of the season. Let's see. I never thought about entering. We shall see, is what Nick Weiser is saying. But yes, Garfield thinks you'd be a good contestant. I think you would be as well. I certainly would think that. And so, yeah, I would do it. Although this is kind of like kneecapping myself because I'm giving myself more competition. But here's the thing: I'm so confident in my abilities that everyone can compete against me. I'll still come out on top. Like I'm like Conan, man. It's like they hear the screams of their. Let's see. They hear my enemies kneel before me, and they hear the lamentations of that woman. That's what's going to be. It's going to be me, man. I'm gonna be like Doom God, just rip and tear. But man, that is I don't know. But anyways, to me, it's a friendly competition, and like I don't care either way. So definitely ought to like in November because October, like I said, I got a bunch of reviews. I want to prioritize getting those out, getting myself caught up. Like I need to get caught up on Battle Beast reviews. I need to get caught up on the reviews I had overflowing from September because I'm a lazy beach. And then like November, fresh slate, really hit the grind. And then I can get into maybe doing like I said, the 7 videos I will do. 7 of these videos are just going to be my regular Braxcast videos. So to make 10, I'd have to make 3 more, and I think I could do two tier lists, and then one video that I think you guys would actually not you guys because you guys are watching are really in tune fans. But if you're newer to the Rippaverse or want to get into the Rippaverse, I think I could make a good video for you guys. And that's what I want to do. So there's a few good content creators that could do a good job just doing what they normally do. And that's exactly the reason why, like, if you're a content creator and you make Rippaverse videos already, it's super easy to apply. And I already applied. So like you submit your entry, and actually we'll gotta do full screen. So of course, it might be a little bit broken. I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but you would just choose content creation. and of course, there's the general content creator. But anyways, so I think I just entered for general content creator. Um, so I think I'll have to make like 3 more videos anyways. But anyways, let's see. I think regardless, I'll ask Andrew if I can be entered into like all of them. Um, if I have to do an entry for each one. But I'd say like, hey, I'd like to be in the running for the general content creator, the video essay creator. Yeah, I think the general content creator, the video essay creator, and or I'd say the general content creator and the commentary slash streamer. Those two, and I think those are the general ones I would be like good for entering. Garfield was saying, quick question: which book is the in the Rippaverse is your absolute favorite? Personally, it's Horseman. Horseman. Welcome to Forest Park. For Garfield, I've said this before. I still say that Yaira is my favorite, especially with how Yaira 3 ended. Um, to me, if you take the first 3 books of Yaira, and we were to condense that into like just like one story, which I honestly think it plays out as one story. To me, or of course it is an ongoing series, but Yaira is my favorite book, and I'm talking about like those first 3 issues so far, because I love the first issue. Second issue was a little bit weaker, but the third issue really tied everything together. It made me exciting for number 4. So yeah, I'd say Yaira definitely. And then I'd say Horseman comes in as a pretty close second. Of course, Zalen's a fantastic book. So it's like it's hard for me to choose my like. This is my definitive favorite Rippaverse book because they're all so good. And again, I'm going to stand by that. Let's see. Did I get the cassette tape? I did. I need to get a cassette player and a record player because I unironically want to get both the cassette player and the vinyl player and actually like when I get on Braxcast Live, actually just play those. But I got both, Nick. So because I'm a crazy person. I have lost long ago. I've lost all semblance of sanity, and it's even more apparent now. Um, that's just a thing for me. I've like I said, I've man, I've gone insane. Like I don't even know what direction I'm going. But yeah, man, and I love to buy more Rippaverse stuff. I just don't have the money for it. So you can always go to velvetroompublishing.com, become a paid member of the Substack. You can buy my books, and then maybe I'll have some more. To fund my Rippaverse addiction. But yeah, I gotta feed myself and pay the power bill. So that is the priority. So yeah, this is a chat room of men who are built differently. Yeah, that certainly is me. I am built a bit differently. Like I've weaponized my autism for like Rippaverse commentary and the Roman Empire, and a decent amount of Christian history as well, which is why I'm on the path that I'm on. All glory to God for that one. I thought for sure that I would get a notification saying Norfolk would ship this week. It would be fun if it did. Honestly, for me, like I want it to come out, but I've got so much other stuff in terms of comic reviews. They can take their time, man. Physical media is making a comeback with all the censorship and ownership disputes. Online digital purchases is pretty much renting instead of owning. Yeah, it is convenient to be able to buy something digitally, download it, especially with games. But yeah, it is a lot. It's so nice to have like the physical copy of something. No, it's never going to go away. And honestly, a lot of times it's better than streaming. So like I have there's this old show I watched. Most of it came out before the last 2 seasons, The Nanny. It started in like 93 or so. It ran until 99. I was born in 98, but I grew up with watching the show, the reruns, and I watched a lot of like Nick at Night reruns. So that's where I watched, Full House. Like I think the George Lopez show was like ongoing as it came out. But I remember watching like Full House and The Nanny, and stuff like that. Maybe even Little King of Queens. But I remember Full House and The Nanny, and it's somewhere in my apartment. But I bought I was watching it on HBO Max, the show. I was rewatching it. And then they took it off, and I was like, oh, I want to finish watching it. So I bought the full box set of the Nanny. And I finished watching it based off of that. And I like that sitcom. Although people might make fun of me for that, if you know what the Nanny is, but I like it. I think it's an entertaining show. I think even though Fran Drescher is like probably a typical Hollywood commie, even though I remember in one of my podcast episodes, her talking about the vaccine, covering her talking about the vaccine, and she wasn't like as authoritarian as I would expect her to be. But yeah, I mean, typical. Oh no, very, very, very odd life. A good amount of tragedy as well, which is unfortunate. But anyways, I think she was very entertaining in the Nanny. I think it was a very entertaining show, and I liked it. And I still do. And I like all all of Niles's sick burns, man. So fun, to watch. And I remember, like getting the DVR password so I could watch, because my parents would like have it lock at a certain time, like after 10 or so, and like getting the password so I could watch the show after. It's probably back in like 2003, but this is like back like kids today don't understand. Like if you have an iPad that just has Netflix on it, like you don't have to deal with this stuff. Let's see if the Frog would ever set up a competition, the winners would get their prizes in 5+ years. That's optimistic, man. I would say 10 at least. It has to be at least like 2 presidential administrations before like you get any sort of fulfillment from the Frogman. So I think you're being a bit generous, Ram, which honestly I appreciate. I think you're being charitable. I can't ding you for that. But yeah, I think 5+, more like 10+ years, man. Another news, your boy Zach is having another crash out aimed at Eric July. Put the fries in the bag, Zach. Yeah, we talked about Zach. It's so sad, man. But anyways, he's having crash outs because Indiegogo is basically I think I've watched the clip. I've watched Geeky Border stuff. And even Van Sciver, Evil Von Scribbler, even Van Sciver was talking about how like Indiegogo is more user friendly and not friendly to them, and it's one of the reasons why he's leaving, which is so funny to me. It was like saying the silent part out loud. But this was something that was established when Eric was getting the Rippafest Survival of Item #1, was that relying on Indiegogo or Kickstarter or any platform is a fool's game in the long run, and it's not something you should do if you have the resources to do it. Now, like Fund My Comic is actually a good website, and those are good guys that run it. But that's few and far between. And if you want the long-term solution, it's to sell on your own storefront, which is what Eric did, and he benefited massively from having ISOM #1 on his own website. He didn't have to pay, what was it, the 5% or however much Indiegogo would have taken out of like the $3.7 million. And then of course, all the money he has made going forward, and it launching on its own site allowed them to really grow and expand and really hit the ground running. So it was the right decision for them to have made. Let's see. Nick Weiser saying, the Rippazine has been so much fun. The zines, anthologies, the regular issues. I now read Rippaverse every week, which is really cool. For me, there isn't like enough to read every week, but like whenever a new release happens, I'm on that, man. Like Saints and Sinners, the last new thing I read. Of course, I do the reviews, so it's super fun whenever I get something new that's Rippaverse related. And of course, the thing is, I talk Rippaverse every week, and very rarely has there ever been what I would describe as like a slow news week where there's nothing for me to talk about. So they're always doing something. They're always releasing something for the most part. There might be like a week here, a week there. But even if there's a slow week, I can go into my short box. I can speculate on characters. I can talk about stuff that, yeah, like I said, I can talk about stuff that isn't just current news or talking about the next thing. So it is a really, it's popping, and it's cool to be a part of it. Let's see. So who cares about these dudes? We have stories to enjoy and enjoy talking about. Let's treat those has-beens as if they don't exist. Yeah, that's a mindset I am in, Nick. Although the thing is that the people they are in tune with this. They'll mention it occasionally, and I'll talk about it. Like I'll give my takes on it. But yeah, Nick has the correct mindset, and I spend let's say I'd say like 90, 85, 90% plus just talking about Ripaverse or whatever crosses my mind randomly. And my whole thing is like, yeah, I mean it's a sad situation, but to me, I think the indie scene is in a decent spot right now, because you got people like John Hua, if I'm getting him correct, his name correct. John's Long Box is getting Heroic Tales #2 to ship. Really excited for that. Of course, I'm getting Phenomenova, I believe, in December, like issues 1 and 3. Fiendish Free, I think, is closing out, so that's going to be fulfilling soon. Of course, we talk about all the reverse stuff. Zay Comics was in the chat earlier. They're going to be Horse with the Man with No Strings, #0, and all the other stuff that they do. Straw Hat Guy, nice to see you in the chat. I don't think I've seen you before. Iconic Comics has done a whole bunch of stuff. I got the Alpha Zero or Common America Alpha manga. I need to read that and review that. And of course, they got Soul Finder, they got Black Hops, they've got, I forget, another series I want to get into. So there's just a lot of stuff in the indie scene right now that you really ought to be spending your time going to Iconic Comics, going to Ripaverse, going to people who, have what they're doing on lock, enjoying that content and just having fun. Because that's the whole point of comics, is to have fun and to enjoy the stories. And to do that, you need to get it from people who have the stories. And even on the like LCS scene, Battle Beast is pretty good. I need to get those 2 issues of that. Mike Miller is actually doing some pretty cool stuff. Of course, I need to get Vatican City #3. I haven't read that. That was a good one. So Image is doing some pretty interesting stuff. Dark Horse is doing some pretty interesting stuff. You might even get a decent comic from Marvel and DC every once in a while. But I wouldn't rely on the corporate comics. But like I said, Battle Beast is a pretty good series. So that's something like they'll go into your LCS and go that. And you can even get back issues or old trade paperbacks, and stuff like that. Or these big collections of like Justice League Avengers or whatever tickles your fancy. So there's just so much in terms of the medium of comics that you can really enjoy yourself with, that you ought not to waste time with the people who honestly meaningfully don't exist in the comic book scene. And it's sad to say, because they could be, and they could be doing a lot of really cool stuff, but they just aren't. And that's just what it is. And there's no point in like, no point in trying to make it seem like it's anything else. So let's see. I just realized how much of a backlog I have now. Been too busy to read up. Yeah, no, I feel you, man. And like with games as well. But it's just like, you work full time. You gotta, do your errands. I do all the content that I make as well. So there's just so much stuff that like has been priority in my life. And honestly, there's probably more stuff that's going to be like in more of a priority. And I don't know, depending on how the next year of my life goes, I could have a radical change in my life. Although I'm skeptical of it being like that. But even so, if like in the next couple of years, let's say I meet the right person, I get married, then it's going to be like, well, I got to get to myself where I can buy a house and I can have kids and I got to take care of my wife and stuff like that. And that's going to be far more of a priority than like sitting down and making time to read manga, watch anime, and play hours and hours of video games. Even though I like doing all that stuff, but that's not like where purpose in life is, and that's not what's going to build you up as a man or even as a person. But yeah, we're talking to like mostly guys here. Yeah, so I would, again, as much as I would, as much as it like would hurt a little part of me, or a decent part of me, to be like, oh man, I can't like play games. I don't really do that anyway. Like at the point where I have all these games, I want to play them, but I just don't, because I'm wasting my time on other nonsense. Let's see. So yep, there's so much more I'm reading now than 5 years ago, is what Nick said. I got some brain expanding reading that I'm backlogged as well. Yeah, I got other books like I got a bunch of theology books I want to read, like stuff like On the Incarnation by Athanasius, and yeah, I could name the titles, but those books as well. Like I want to read those books that like actually like edify me and expand my knowledge. as fun as comics are. But anyway, no point in waiting for the big corpos to change, as they truly never will. Joker moves to Russia, becomes an Orthodox clergy member. That would be a huge change. LOL. I wouldn't necessarily have to move to Russia to do that. In fact, like the parish I'm part of is part of Rocor, unironically. So you're not that far off, but I could become an Orthodox priest. Even though that's getting way ahead of myself because I'm not even baptized yet, Garfield. So I'd have to, but I could go to seminary in the States. There's one that's about 4 hours from me. It's in Jordanville. It's, I think, the Holy Trinity Monastery. I want to go there on pilgrimage. I want to go to Mount Athos because Mount Athos is in Greece, and it's only men can go there. Only men are allowed there. So that'd be a cool place to go to. But yeah, there is a shortage of Orthodox priests in clergy. But that's a whole other discussion. So yeah, but this is one of the things is that like if I was going to do something crazy in relation to that, I probably would become a monk. Like I get tonsured as a monk, so you take a vow of poverty, take a vow of chastity, and then move into a secluded area of the world and live the monastic life. Which honestly, that would be nice. It'd be a great comfort. In a sense, it'd be a comfort for the soul. It wouldn't be a comfort for the flesh. Um, but I'm definitely not at a stage of my life. One, I'm not even baptized. Even if I was like, let's say, as soon as I get baptized, I'm like, I want to be a monastic. No abbot would take me in as a monk when I'm that young in the faith. They would want me to live the life as let's see. So Ram is asking, can I have your Rippaverse things if you become a monk? Sure, Ram. If I become a monk, I will personally give me your address. I will drive to you. I will give you every Rippaverse thing I have. Let's see. You can check off all free right now. Just living in New Hampshire. Let's see. Technically, let's see. I'm not sure all free things. Oh yeah, exactly what free things you're talking about. Only Men Ha. Top Gun must be the most watched movie there, especially the volleyballs. That's not the point, Nick. That's not the point of Mount Athos. I know you're trying to be funny. But yeah, it's yeah. So most monasteries are going to be sex segregated, or basically they all are. But any monastic community typically will have like you'll have like the convent for the nuns, and you'll have where the brothers live. Um, would Joker have to shave the center of his head and have the tonsure bowl cut in order to be a monk? I wouldn't as an Orthodox monk, because that's more of a Catholic thing, a Roman Catholic thing to like do that. You'll like see like Martin Luther had that. You'll see like Thomas Aquinas with that. I believe I wouldn't have to. Yeah, of course, just having fun. So of course I know you're just joking around. But no, I don't think I would have to, Garfield. If I became a monk, I would of course be able to keep the beard. In fact, I think I'd be like obligated to keep the beard and not cut my hair. The Eastern tradition is different than the Western tradition. Like shaving was seen as or is seen as a sign of piety, whereas the reverse is true in Orthodoxy. The more you know. But again, I'm going to say I'll probably get baptized before I'm 28 because I'm 27 now. I'll be 28 this March. Decent chance I'll be baptized before the spring, sometime in the winter, maybe. I don't know exactly when. It's all the timeline that whenever my spiritual father thinks I'm ready for baptism. I'm only my third week of catechism, so I don't want to rush myself. But I'm going to give myself until I'm 40. So if I don't meet Miss Joker by that time, I'm 40, then I will very seriously inquire on becoming monastic. I think I will have lived the faith long enough where like an abbot will take me seriously, saying like I want to become a monk. I don't think the married life is for me. I don't think that's what God wants me, to do. I think I ought to become a monk. And then I'll have like more alms to give. I'll be established my career and such. So I'll probably have a decent amount. But yeah, Nick is 2 years away from 40. I'm about 12 and a half years from 40. So I got time. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't think of myself as like a person anybody would want to date. for a variety of reasons, much less marry. Like if some 5 years away from 40, the other oh, so you're 5 years to 50 to make you feel older. Got to change your name to 40 flavors. 40 flavors of Nick Weiser, man. Absolutely hilarious. It's a great run being a dad. Even I operate the ship alone with 2 kids. Even if I operate the ship alone with 2 kids, no regrets. Yeah, no, I'd love to be a father. I'd love to have a son and name him after my grandfather. And this is one of the things emotional. One of the last things I'd say, yeah, one of the last conversations I had with my grandfather when he was like he was coherent mentally until the end of his life, but he just didn't physically have the strength to speak. So one of the last conversations I had with him, he was talking to me about like when he dies, the fact that I'm here and his DNA lives on in me is something that is a great comfort to him. It's like, oh, if I don't have kids, and that ends. So it's like a really like, oh man, like I really feel like kind of this obligation to have kids like on that basis. So it'd be nice to have like a son because then like I could like put more of my grandfather back into this world. And that's really what it's all about. Let's see. Gen X. My daughter is older than you. Yeah, man. So, yeah, PB. I'm basically like I said, the oldest Zoomer. I'm 27. So, there are maybe like 1 or 2 years of people in Gen Z who are older than me. But if you go like 1 or 2 years back, you're basically at the cutoff um for okay, yeah. Her older daughter is going to read her first American comic with the detention crew. Yeah, I think it's a good choice. You have a sister, so her child could still be a peaker. Let's see, still be a peaker. Her child? You are talking about? Oh, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about me, Mike? I'm not sure if I've ever talked about my siblings. Let's see. Um, what am I even talking about? But yeah, no, my parents are boomers. So my parents they had kids in their 30s. So my parents, well, not boomers, are like really old Gen X, like the oldest Gen X, I would say. Um, so like, if you were someone who woke up at any time between the years 1987 and 1993 and you thought to yourself, "Oh, it's Monday, I have to go to work," you're Gen X. That's the way I go about it. Of course, those are years I wasn't alive to make you guys feel old. And if you were a kid and remember 9/11, then you're pretty solidly a millennial. For me, I was free, so I know what I was doing. I don't really remember 9/11, but I was around during that time. It's when I began to form my memories, right? Um, my parents are about like 60 years old. Well, my dad's 60 and my mom is 59. Although I probably ought to not say that. Too much information out there. But yeah, my parents are like late 50s, let's just say. Late 50s, early 60s. They're in that time frame. So like I said, they're very like old Gen X. So like Gen X are people who are like in their mid 40s, early 50s at this point, and my parents are like a little bit older than that. But the boomers are people who are like in their 70s and 80s. People who were born like you're a boomer if you like remember being if you are old enough to have grown up listening to the Beatles when they were making their music. You're a boomer. Yeah, your parents are Gen X. Yeah, that's like I said. Yeah, Gen X goes back to 65. Baby boomers are born before. Yeah, that's the way it is. But like I said, my parents are basically like the oldest of Gen X. So a lot of they don't really have a lot of like the Gen X mindset. They have more of like a boomer mindset. Although I love my parents. They've been very very good to me. Actually, I would argue too good to me. All the dumb stuff I did when I was a young lad, when I was in high school and middle school and all this stuff. Although I wasn't like a criminal or anything like that, but man, I was a mess of a kid. Um, they put up with me. God bless them. Let's see. My son has only read American comics, even though he likes some anime. He hates manga because there's no color. I love manga though. Like manga's so cool. And anime is, of course, really fun to watch. Of course, I've established I've watched all the weird anime. or I watched all the weird anime. That's the anime I got into. Let's see. Let's see. Cover C does match the interior art as well. If you're talking about Detention Crew, yeah, I talk about that because the interior artist does that. Yeah, baby boomers are originally 46 to 55, and I'd say that's much more accurate for like the baby boomer generation. Yeah, so yeah, mid 50s is pure or like Gen X. So yeah, I'd say yeah, it's very solidly Gen X. But like I said, I'm in between the Gen Z and the millennial generation because like I remember video cassettes. I remember going to Blockbuster. I got paper report cards. I um had an iPod. I remember the mindset of the internet not being this thing that people took seriously. I remember what dumb phones were like. So like was I like as into it as out like in use immersed in that like milieu like not. But like when the internet like came over, it's like, oh, this is an interesting thing. Like computers are getting so much advanced, like the iPhone and the iPad coming out. Like I remember that very solidly, and these being like these new novel things, rather than something that I was like just like part of my existence. It very quickly became part of my existence because of how young I was when these things came out. But I still like, and I was like raised by parents that weren't in the mindset of like making me an TikTok iPad kid. Like the younger Gen Z and the especially Gen Alpha, like people who are born like after 2012. But the logic of the generations is that like if someone was born, let's say in 1990, they have less in common with me than I would have. So someone born in 2012, because that's the cutoff for Gen Z, is like it's like 96 to 2012. I was born in 98. So that's the thing that's ridiculous is like if if you were 14 when I was born and like you're like it's like 5 years after the iPhone came out, like it's 2 years after the iPad. Like remember when the iPad was first announced, everyone was making tampon jokes, right? Even or about it. It's like I make a tampon joke. I thought too easy. I remember watching those like 15 years ago when the iPad was released. And I remember like going with my dad because he got one because he was always likes Apple. He still does. And I had like a Power Mac G4 when I was a kid, and I used it to burn CDs. And like I said, I watched video cassettes, and I had like the one that was like a race car, and you pop your video cassette in, and it would just rewind it for you, and it would be a lot faster than actually doing it in the VCR player. And I remember getting GameCube games from Blockbuster. I always loved when my parents brought me to Blockbuster. I could get a GameCube game. Got like a Rugrats game for the GameCube. That's the one I always got. I love that one. Let's see. So millennial and Gen Z who call anyone over 45 a boomer is an insult. I hear the argument, but what you guys hate when we Gen X call you guys lazy and entitled goes both ways. Yeah. Well, boomer has just become. It's less of like the original term for it being to identify people born like you said between like 1945 and 1955 to basically anyone who's old, right? Which is why I like to call myself a boomer zoomer because like I'm the oldest of Gen Z basically. Yeah, I remember when the first home computers and VCRs were released. Yeah, so like I'm not that old, but like I'm old enough to like know what a video cassette is, right? Yeah, let's see. So yeah, Nerdrotic is a boomer. It's written into the lore of FNT. Let's see. Yeah, Mike Miller is certainly a stand-up guy. Mike Miller still operates a dumb phone, no smartphones for him. And honestly, it's actually something like you'll see like these college girls, and they've gotten like flip phones. And they've talked about like how much better it is because you actually get to interact with people. Because like the smartphone has ruined people's ability to interact socially. As interesting and cool devices as they can be, but I remember when I was in middle school, I had my first like smartphone, and you weren't allowed to like have it out you in class. And I took that seriously. Like, I would leave it in my locker. I would take it out at the end of the day. I felt like, oh, it's so cool to like have the phone, like one that actually works to scroll the internet. Because the phone I had before that was like the Samsung Gravity. Well, one of the things that was really cool, I remember having the Motorola Razor. I got it as a hand-me-down. It was pink because it was my sister's. Something like that. I got a blue case for it, but it was like, oh man, I remember like on the bus and I got a Motorola Razor. Like, oh, it's so cool. No one would do that. No kid on the school bus would be like that today. It's just not the way technology is because like the smartphone is really peaked in terms of just being like this, like the slab with the apps, which is it's kind of disappointing because technology is kind of like it's peaked and it's beginning its stagnation, and we've really gotten to the point where you just have like the ability to doom scroll for hours and hours on end, and that's really what's affected me. It was one of the reasons, like I said, I'd love to just live in the wilderness because just get rid of the freaking phone, man. Let's see. So, calling someone old is relative and an insult. Yeah, no, I agree with you, PB. But the thing is that younger people have really very little prospects in life, and they blame the boomers entirely. And like talking about the people who were like teenagers when they went to Woodstock, right? Or like in their 20s and they went to Woodstock. And they think those people absolutely ruined society. And the conclusion I've come to is that that generation, they were propagandized into living life a certain way, and it just resulted in them doing having happen what happened. So it's not like they're entirely at fault. But of course, you've got some people who are like that, who have a very very bad mindset with how they raise their kids, with how society should be. So they really do not care. Joker is an old man in spirit. In a year, he will be telling the youngsters to get off his lawn. Dude, I swear, the first thing, if I ever buy a house, it's the first thing I'm going to do. But here's the thing, Garfield. What's the 6-7 thing mean? Can anyone explain that to me? Like is it like that? Like 6 comes after 7, and that's why it's funny. I don't understand it. I swear I just don't. And this is the first thing. Is like, man, like I'm getting out of touch with what young people like, because like I understood what Riz means, what I know what Riz means, like where I was like, oh, I got that. I hate the term Riz though. I think it's so stupid, but it's like at least I understood it. But the 6-7 thing is like I just like, what is it? What does that mean? I'm so confused. So yeah, I think yeah, I'm becoming even more of an old man in spirit, and I like to call myself an old soul, even though people do that. Like I know it's modern kid slang. I know this is what like the middle schoolers are telling each other, but does it have a specific meaning? Because like I mean I guess you could like talk about the 6-7, but you just saying 6-7 to be funny, it's so stupid. I don't get it, man. I don't get it. It's literally it's not supposed to make sense. So it's literal brain rot. Oh, okay, man, at least like 420, like 69. Well, at least I was funny, man. Like at least like like you're talking about like 69, talking about like 420. That was funny, all right? Because like you're alluding to something. So you're just saying 6-7 as the joke. God help us, man. The kids have no meaningful sense of humor these days. Nick says his 11-year-old hates the 6-7 thing. My son says 6-7 all the time. It's annoying and confusing. Yes, okay. At least you are in the boat as me. I think they like it because it upsets the older generation and no other reason. Yeah. And I guess I'm part of that now. Because I remember I went camping and I met these 10-year. I have the Switch too, and they were like playing Smash. Like this kid, I told like the kid, I was like, yeah, I got a Switch too. And he's like, can I come and play it? And I were playing Smash Bros. He would bring his friends over to play. And I was talking to one of his friends because they were all 10 years old. And I was like, how old do you think I am? It's like, to me, you're my mom's age, even though I know you're not. And I'm like, oh. I'm like, oh boy. A lot of social decay and rot on social media now. I see this nation getting dumber by the year. Wholeheartedly agree. Like, you see those man on the street videos where people ask, like, like, can you point to Russia on a map? I can't. Let's see. I think the joke is supposed to annoy people, like saying chicken butt or after someone says what. Okay, that's so stupid, man. I just can't. I just cannot. That is so stupid. If that what the 6-7 thing means, that is not funny. I don't get it. I still don't get it, man. I'm again get off my lawn, guys. Stop talking about the 6-7 thing. I got to pay my power bill. I gotta go to work. I gotta go to work on Monday, man. Let's see. And you wonder why America's been dead last in every educational metric for years among the first world nations? Oh yeah, totally. I mean, this is one of the reasons why if I have kids, I would homeschool them. Like even if I had to work every day, I'd still want to come over after and just like actually educate them myself. Let's see. That's why I say Gen Z is exhausting. I honestly agree. I do not like my generation of in terms of like their mindset with things, in terms of like how little of an ability they have to critically think. How many of like the complete dependency on, of course, my family, my parents, like they brought my stuff to me, they bought things for me, like they helped me move up here. But even like if you ask my dad was like, oh, you did 90% of the work, man, and we just helped you out just a little bit. I am grateful for what they did for me. But yeah, I mean, but like, doing like, basic stuff like signing an apartment lease, getting your car registered in a different state, going to job interviews by yourself, doing your own laundry, cooking for yourself, making sure you get to bed on time. This has been branded as adulting. And this is honestly, PB, this is what the millennials did. And this is why, again, I'm so off topic, but bear with me, guys. The millennial generation is what set the stage for Gen Z to be as awful as they are, because they're the ones who invented the terms like adulting. They're the ones who started ranting against the boomers for ruining society, and Gen Z just took that and ran with it. And also, they're the ones that became insane, nose-pierced, blue-haired commies, and Gen Z just emulated that. So Gen Z is just like the end result of like the works behavior of millennials. It's why, like, again, and the thing is, PB, I'm going to have to deal with millennials longer than you. They're going to be the people who are like slightly above me on the ladder in life. I'm not sure exactly if it'll exactly be like that. Like, if I become an electrician, I'm working for myself. But there'll be people who like I'll be dealing with them a lot. And I do not like millennials. I think a lot of the issues that you see with Gen Z, they trace themselves back to the millennial generation. Because like I said, it's the millennials that invented the term adulting and all the stuff that comes out from like that mindset where like just like doing your laundry, going to work, like feeding yourself, like doing like these very basic things that shouldn't be considered hard has become adulting, and it's like this insurmountable task. I absolutely hate it, and I always have, I always will. It's something that the millennials invented, in my personal opinion. But that's just me. That's just me. I could rant about millennials all day, but I really have covered, like I said, everything I wanted to, because the Rippafest is actually a really cool thing to do for the fans. So everyone under 40 is emotional. Emotions are for children and teenage girls. Bleak. Yeah, no, I mean, I think you will have exceptions to the rule, PB. But Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations, and that was such a very valuable read for me, because you constantly want to be like your emotions are something that are always going to exist. You're always going to feel them. But you can't let them control your life. But anyways, adulting is an absolutely retarded term based. So Rippasend looks promising as well. We can talk about Rippasend a little bit. We probably ought to talk about something that's at least tangentially. Ugh, I cannot speak. Related to Rippaverse. So of course, Rippasend. I think Rippasend is something that's going to have to like get off of the ground. Let's see. Yeah, true, but remember, exceptions prove rules. Yeah, no, I agree with that, and it's honestly the thing that's going to be like the undoing. It's like, again, it's why I don't relate to a lot of people in my generation, because like of this like emotional like mindset. And again, it's a thing that like let's say like I wait until like I'm in my like mid-30s, and that's like I find like some woman who's in her like mid to late 20s. Like, am I going to like relate to her? So it's just a weird situation to be in, but who knows? There are exceptions, and maybe I'll find one, or maybe I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Not going to finish that sentence. Not at all, man. But anyways, I got Death Shroud and Mighty Golden Patriot to review. And that's basically, we haven't had basically anything in terms of big projects announced from Rippasend, but just the platform, the idea of Rippasend is something I'm wholeheartedly for. Wholeheartedly want to keep it going. And making this storefront into, or making the Rippasend into a storefront that has a lot of projects to be hosted is something I think it's a long-term thing for Rippasend. And that's really what I want. I think, the merch stuff is cool, but I want there to be like tons and tons of books on Rippasend that people can go and buy, and it becomes just like this little hub of indie comics that people can actually get into. And it really isn't that yet, but it definitely has the potential to be. And that's my Rippasend commentary there. And of course, we've got, let's see here, just Rippaverse Twitter. But anyways, guys, so I think I'm gonna wind it down here. It's almost 9 o'clock. I've been live streaming for almost 2 hours, rambling about basically everything that isn't the Rippaverse, man. Not the Roman Empire this time, but me just I guess now like my pseudo old man ranting. Let's see. Looks like the Rippaverse booth is selling MGP and Destro at their booth. Yeah, that makes sense for them to do so. So yeah, there's these select few projects from Rippasend that are getting into people's hands. And like Ram said, interested in the Rippasend books, but not the Geeks and Gamers merch. Yeah, so I'm not interested in the merch as well. But it's a cool thing that they're doing, and it's going to be something that makes it more enticing for indies to get involved in the scene, right? Or in Represent, because like, well, if I want to do a shirt with my book, or I want to do like some merch options with the book, then I can just go to Represent, have that be a one-stop shop, and then just do everything through them. So I think it's the right move for them. So like I said, they're laying this like good foundation in order to make what I think Represent ought to be. And I do think they really need to do a little bit more work on differentiating. Like, you need to have like Rippasend mailers. You need to have stuff saying this shipment from Rippasend Comics is coming to you, especially for people like me who use both. So I think that is something they need to do in the long term. But I definitely think they can get there, and I think they've got a fantastic foundation to do that. Let's see. So Rippasend, in my opinion, will give creators cover to use the marketing base, and they should take advantage. I wholeheartedly agree. PB and John Longbox is saying that Patriarch smashes Braxwell. Well, John, I disagree. And also, shouldn't you be at work? Because I sent John the link. And again, you have the link, John. So you can come in on any one of these live streams, and I can epically prove how wrong and incorrect you are about the Patriarch. He would get his butt handed to him by Braxwell any day of the week. Yeah, exactly, at lunch. Okay, that's good. It's like 9 o'clock. Yeah, working nights, man. I hate working nights. I did that for like 6 weeks this like summer, and I just couldn't do it. So I've been job hopping so much, but I'm excited. I actually got an interview offer for a job I applied for weeks ago, but I was like, I'm not doing this. But yeah, nice to see you chatting with me on your lunch break, John. But hopefully you have a good lunch, rest of the shift, and then hopefully you can have a good weekend. Will creators die on the hill of hating Eric July's marketing model, or will they take advantage and sell more products? Honestly, I think the people who have made their career, not career, but who have made their shtick to be on the Eric July Rippaverse hate wagon, I don't think they could emulate what Eric July is doing. They don't have the chops for it. So they're just going to have their little niche. They're going to put out their book, once every presidential term, if that. And I think they'll be able to scrape enough of a living off of the super chats, off of the Indiegogo money, in order to be comfortable where they're at, because it's not really about building a business or a legacy or telling the stories. It's really just about like feeling like you're doing all those things, and then feeling like you're better and superior to the person you're hating on, or the people that you're hating on. Sad situation. But anyways, like we established before, it's not really something we ought to be like talking about. It's just like, of course, I think these observations that people make is a bit inevitable, because they're very much engaged in this criticism. I wrote like I think it was like a 4,000 word essay or article called Rippaverse Apologetics, where I just present at the time. I'd still say it's pretty relevant to, if you read it, most of the things I say are still like relevant, and they're still basically, it's the same talking points, just like variations of that with like slightly different information. About like presenting what they're saying about the Rippaverse, and just like why it's wrong. I could have been a bit better with how I presented it, but it really is stupid. And anyways, it's, you've got like PB saying Rippafest allows creators to take advantage of the marketing base and production infrastructure to grow their business. Win-win. Wholeheartedly agree. It's just that I think the way Rippafest is presented to the consumer, it feels like a bit too boutique. It doesn't feel quite like a storefront, or a way where, like, if you're looking at like stuff to back on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or even Fund My Comic, it's just not quite there yet. And I think it can in the future. And once it does, I think it's going to be a really good thing, not just for Eric July and his bottom line, but for the indie scene in general. Um, I definitely think that is I think that is the case. I don't want to address nothing negative, just saying it's good to see more and more creators taking advantage of Rippafest. Yeah, no, wholeheartedly. And I think I mean, I think obviously there are certain people that wouldn't even apply to work with Rippafest, and even if they did as like a goof or something like that, they wouldn't work with them. But anyways, there's plenty of people who are going to want to work with them. I think there aren't that many people in that like 5-figure range in indie comics, but no reason why there can't be more, and honestly, no reason why Rippafest can't just um, get newbies into the game, people who have a little bit of money that they've saved up in order to, basically put their first project out for Rippafest and see how it does. I think that's definitely something that could happen. And I think, again, having that base of people who want to buy indie comics and who know that they're actually going to get them because it's being backed by a company that has a reliable track record, I think that's something that really ought to not be discounted. It's just that, like, it's getting to that point, and like I said, I just don't think they are there yet. I don't. Let's see. Let's see. I remember. I wish I could remember who was going to make that video. Let's see. Garfield once said they were going to do a video about that. I want to see that before I comment. I'm not sure exactly. Oh, how about Brian Solari versus Patriarch clobbering time? Oh yeah, that'd be cool. And honestly, I mean, I could get in, John, as like the guy who would, talk about Brian Solari, because again, I'm your guy for that. Might mess around and get in on the Rippaverse content. Yeah, go for it, Ram. All the power to you. But anyways, I've been live streaming for over an hour and 50 minutes. So if there's anything else you guys would like me to talk about, to address, of course, the Rippafest, it was a short thing to cover. It devolved, and every live stream I do, it always devolves. And again, I feel like these solo live streams I do, where I'm just ranting about like random nonsense, are always the ones that last the longest, and they're the most fun for me to do. And I think it's therapeutic in a way, because I get to just like rant and rave about stuff, and it's a really good way to like end the week, man. So again, I appreciate you guys listening to my rambling and my ranting. Try not to be too emotional. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If there's anything else that anybody wants to talk to me about, so let's see. So Rippafest is a pathway to grow your business and customer base if you're in indie comics. Exactly what I was saying. Here's a question: what was the Roman Empire like in the Rippaverse? Probably was pretty epic. I imagine it would be the same as it was in reality. Of course, we talked about this before, like Rippafest comics set during the Roman Empire, especially considering the events of Vice and Free, because we know Galilee, during Galilee and Roman Judea, is what they were talking about. Because actually, yeah, technically, Judea was the Herodian kingdom. Galilee was like a slightly different province back then. So yeah, covering that. Like I said, they can always hit me up and say, hey Joker, we want you to write like a Rippaverse comic that takes place in the Roman Empire. I know exactly what I would write, man. I'd be using my boy Marcus for that, man. Like taking down like pagan Danube exapts across the Danube during the Macromonica Wars. Like, so cool. I'd love that. I'd absolutely freaking love to write a story like that. So yeah, I think it would be basically the Roman Empire, but with XFs, and which honestly sounds epic to me. Honestly, you could make a lot of cool Rippaverse story, because you could do like you could do the Celtic, not the Celtic Wars, the Gallic Wars, with Julius Caesar. Oh yeah, Joker the Orpho in chat. You'll have a good weekend. Yes, I think I'm officially an Orpho bro. Man, I know you're Catholic, Ram. So, even if you go on Sundays and you say the Filioque, I still love you, man. So that's all I'm going to say. But basically, there's so many cool stories you could do in the Roman Empire. But yeah, hopefully you have a good weekend, Ram. We have a good weekend, Garfield. And like I said, you could cover like the Gallic Wars with Julius Caesar. You could do, of course, the Carthaginian Wars with Hannibal crossing the Alps. You could do stuff with like not Roman Empire, but like Roman Republic as well, with Romulus and Remus being exeps. There's of course, all of the mythology with like the Greek mythology, which has been mentioned. Of course, Neptune is Roman, but they're basically like the same like milieu, like the Greek and the Romans basically had the same gods, just different names, and these traditions were very like similar and such. Marcus Aurelius is definitely a top 3 emperor for me. Augustus is number 1, though. I honestly don't disagree. I mean, Augustus was very significant because of course, I mean, not only did he live a long time and had a long reign, but he established the empire, and he took like of course Julius being the dictator in turning the Roman Republic into this like dictatorial government, getting assassinated, and then creating all this turmoil. Augustus is able to come in and not only unify the empire, but lay down this foundation where it was able to peak into the greatest, probably basically one of, if not the greatest civilization the world has ever known. 117 with Trajan, where it was at its territorial peak. And then, of course, that maintained for centuries. It was only until I think there was some decline during Constantine's time in the 4th century, but even then, you still had a pretty solid grasp on the empire. They had all their principal territories, Northern Africa, Spain, Italy, along, of course, Gaul and Britannia, as well as long as those parts in Central Europe. But really, what did them in was, of course, all the internal like political conflicts, stuff like the crisis of the 1st century. Of course, even Constantine's time, he had Maximentus in the west that he had to deal with, and he had that battle that led to him issuing the Edict of Milan, and then you had Nicaea shortly after, which created Roman Christendom, which is a really interesting time for the Roman Empire. But anyways, there's just like a lot of like internal conflict, and then you had these external factors as well. And of course, you had a lot of these Roman emperors that were basically doing what the Fed is doing today, as well as they could do it with like fake money, like cutting like cheaper metals into the gold and silver coins, the denarii. And that absolutely destroyed the Roman economy for basically the same reason why the American economy is being destroyed today. So we really have not learned much as a civilization. Quite unfortunately. But anyways, guys, I think I'm going to end it there because I got to spend the next, hour and a half ranting about the Roman Empire as much as you guys would love to. And I got almost like over 500 people on Twitter watching, but check out, go, if you're on Twitter, you can go to my, profile, follow me, and you'll stay up to date on all the content. You can go to velroompublishing.com. That should take you to my Substack. Consider subscribing. Consider becoming a paid subscriber there. Which would be quite epic. But if not, hopefully you guys enjoy the content. I'm going to go out after I read this. Aurelian is probably my personal favorite emperor. Dude was born into chaos and saved the empire. Yeah, Aurelian. Yeah, I need to read up more about him. But yeah, for me, Marcus Aurelius was one he really held the line. And of course, so sad. His son Commodus was worthless and just destroyed his legacy. But anyways, that aside, I am actually out of here. So hopefully you guys have a good weekend. Have a fantastic night. But Joker is out.